Clint, we're seeing a bit of a turning point in the battle for the capital, are we?
That's right, Shepard. I think the big change is week one, we saw a failed strategy to take Kyiv. Week two, we saw the shift to conventional warfare. And now in week three, I think this is what's critical. We're seeing all the forces sort of converge in three separate axes. We know about the convoy. We've talked about it for a couple weeks here up to the northwest. We know that they're trying to advance in two other directions. And that really takes us to what we see here. In the north, you're seeing three axes of advance. This is the convoy, Shepard, that we talked about over the last couple weeks. It got bogged down here, but what we're seeing them do is break out here to the west. And what they're trying to do is establish blocking positions, essentially cut off supplies from the west over time to really lay siege, much like we see in Mariupol. Separately, they are doing these two axes advance. One here, where Ukrainian military doing stiff resistance, really knocking out an armor convoy. Here, we also see them advancing. Again, Ukrainian military doing very well, but this is overwhelming force that we're seeing, which really brings us back to how can Russia sustain this? This is a shot from a UAV that essentially called in and brought in airstrikes on an armor column, creating intense damage. There's lots of footage of Ukraine, and this is a very indisciplined, lack of discipline by the Russian military, stacked up in these convoys, not spaced out, so they're taking severe losses. I think the thing we're looking for is, does Russia start to establish a perimeter over time around the north, east, and west, essentially cutting off those supplies? And if they can continue that and establish a perimeter, then Kyiv will be laid to siege, much like we've seen in other towns closer to the Russian border.
Oh, man. Clint, Dnipro was targeted for the first time today, we understand. Explain to us the significance of that city and what happens if it falls.
That's right. So the key point, Shepard, for Dnipro is, one, you're seeing them try and break out of Sumy and head south, and from the south heading north to Dnipro, essentially trying to create an axis. What they want to do is go to Dnipro, a very large town basically in the center of the country that goes over the Dnieper River, and if they can take that axis, they can cut off the eastern part of Ukraine, essentially what Vladimir Putin was alluding to in the beginning. Bigger picture, when you zoom in on Dnipro, you see this is a major junction. It's a significant city for Ukraine for this very reason. You'll see all sorts of infrastructure. We have oil refineries here, major railheads, which would allow you to move armor all across the country, and these bridges across each of these rivers coming to this junction point. If they can take Dnipro, it would really cripple the entire eastern part of the country, such that Russia would not only be fighting in the major cities and in the south, they'd be able to essentially wall off all of eastern Ukraine.
Clint Watts, thanks so much.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.